If you're suffering from dizziness and you have neck pain, you could be suffering what's called cervicogenic dizziness. In today's episode, I'm going to give you 4 fantastic exercises to treat a severe episode of cervicogenic dizziness. We're going to treat it like it's day 1 in my physical therapy clinic. You're my patient, you're coming into my clinic. We're going to show you exactly what to do. Well, my name is Mauro Burnett, physical therapist and owner of Australian Physiotherapy Specialist Physical Therapy Center located here in Jacksonville, Florida. Over my 23 years of practice, I've specialized in neck and back care, and I've treated thousands of patients successfully that suffer from cervical pain, cervical headaches, and cervicogenic dizziness. In today's episode, we're going to cover a severe episode. Recently, one of our viewers contacted us here at the channel, and they were telling me about this horrible episode of cervicogenic dizziness that they were going through, and how it was so bad it was hard for them to even go to a physical therapy center to receive care. Driving made them so dizziness that they're kind of homebound. So in this episode, we're going to give some exercises that could help you if you're in a similar case. We're going to dedicate this episode to Mrs. B out there in New York. This one's going to be for you, Mrs. B. Okay, first, let's define cervicogenic dizziness. Cervicogenic dizziness is a dizziness disorder that's triggered by pain in the neck. Usually, it's going to be pain somewhere near the upper neck. The upper neck is rich with nerve receptors called proprioceptors. Proprioceptors give information to your brain on where your body part's at in space. So for the muscles at the base of the head, there are about 250 proprioceptive nerves per gram of muscle tissue. Because of this rich, dense proprioceptive nervous information, if you're having pain in the upper neck, it could disrupt this proprioception and cause a dizziness or disequilibrium or vertigo-like symptoms. In 1955, 2 doctors named Ryan and Cope, they were 2 guys that kind of put this cervical dizziness or cervical vertigo on the map. They were experimenting with their own necks, and they took anesthetic drugs and injected it into their upper neck, and they noticed that it induced dizziness and vertigo, and they would lose balance to the side that they injected. They named it cervical vertigo. In modern times, we now call it cervicogenic dizziness. So in today's episode, we're going to kind of go over a case study. What if you presented like this case study, and then I'm going to show you step by step of how you might be able to treat it. So let's go over this first case study. Patient has severe episode of dizziness. You wake up, you feel awful. You might notice that you're very reluctant to turn your neck. I had a patient recently this week. She presented just like this. She didn't really know what she did. The only thing she told me that may have caused this problem is she had gone to Disney World and were riding some rides. Afterwards, she wakes up the next day, her neck's locked up. She's very reluctant to turn her neck, and she's super dizzy. Hard to walk, hard to drive, etc. So in this scenario, if you're having similar symptoms, you're having difficulty with rotation, you may have difficulty with extending back. That might be the real severe trigger with dizziness. If that's you and you're having these kind of problems, let's get into some of these exercises that could help give you some relief right away. All right, before we get into exercise number 1, I just want to say if you're getting value from this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. We're at 13,000 subscribers, so you can help us out by subscribing to our channel, and you'll get lots of our videos on helpful tips and helpful information. All right, let's get back to the video, and we're going to look at exercise number 1, helping with severe vertigo with rotation. My patient earlier in the week, their dizziness was to the right, so that's what we're going to do. This is a strap that you can get on Amazon.com. I don't know, about 25 bucks. There was a famous physical therapist from New Zealand named Mulligan. He invented this technique called the SNAG, and so this is a cervical SNAG strap. The way it works is I place it at the base of my head, right underneath the earlobes, right? So I'll kind of show you from back view. And then I'm going to line that up with the tip of my nose. What this is going to do is it's going to place the strap right over my very first cervical neck bone, my cervical vertebra, C1. Now, if I want to go right, I drop the right side. See if I can do this without disturbing the microphone. And then I crisscross. I want to make sure it's at the earlobe and the tip of my nose. This hand's just going to make sure the strap stays in place. I'm not pulling a ton but I also don't want there to be slack. So I'm just taking up the slack gently. Good approximation to my cheekbone. That's important. If you have it off your cheekbone, it doesn't support you properly. And then I'm going to let the strap take me to the right as far as I can comfortably without dizziness or tightness or pain. Maybe you can only go a few degrees at first. If that's the case, no worries. Just do what you can do. But if you can do this technique 2 or 3 times on your very first try, when you're finished, you kind of put the strap down and then you look to see if you can go a little further. It's a great technique to loosen up those C1, C2 facet joints that lock up and cause dizziness. There was a 2014 study where everyone in the study was shown how to do this technique. They did it for several weeks, and after about 4 weeks of doing this a couple times a day, they noticed that their symptoms went from severe to moderate to mild. It's definitely worth giving it a try. If your neck's so severe that you just can't do it, it makes you feel awful, okay, maybe it's not for you. It's definitely a high percentage technique. I would give it a try. The way it would work, if it goes well, the first day, maybe just do it 2 or 3 times. Make sure it doesn't make you feel worse. Now let's say it's day 2. Don't feel worse, maybe even feel a little better. Then you could do up to 6 reps and then see how you feel. The outcome that we want is when you're finished, you should be able to turn a little bit better and feel a little less dizzy. If you find that you can do it okay, you can easily do this 2 or 3 times a day or as you see fit. For exercise number 2, first we loosened up the neck a little bit. So that was kind of a passive technique. Now we're going to move on to some active techniques. Pain in the neck will preferentially inhibit the deepest stabilizing muscles of the neck, the muscles that attach directly to your vertebra. When they're not working properly, it gives you poor coordination with turning. Your outer muscles become extremely tight in a protective manner, and it makes you feel pretty terrible. So what we've got to do is we've got to turn back on the inside stabilizing muscles to turn off the tight muscles. When someone's having cervicogenic dizziness, if I had a chalkboard and I was writing down all the problems that we have to overcome, this poor activation of the inside muscles is the #1 problem. We've got to get the muscles back on if we want lasting relief. So I'm going to show you an exercise called the Occiput lift. The back of the skull is called the occiput bone. And here's how it works. I'm sitting, but you could easily do this in sitting or standing. If you feel really dizzy and you don't feel safe doing it standing, you could try it in sitting. I like it in standing. I feel like you get a little more weight bearing when you do it in standing, but I'll kind of show you a little bit both. This is how it works. If I'm sitting and I have a slumped posture, first thing you want to do is kind of grow tall from the lower back so that you come out of a slumped posture and your pelvis is neutral. You don't want to be overly flexed, but you also don't want to be jacked into extension either. You want a halfway position, right? Now what we're going to do, once you get your pelvis in the right position, is let's say you're 5'6", you want to feel like you're the full 5'6" when you do this. You don't want to be 5'5". You don't want to overstretch like you're 5'7", but just gently try to be 5'6" in the example that you're 5'6". So you make yourself 5'6", you lower your chin just a little bit, just a millimeter or 2. Relax your shoulders, and now you're going to hold that posture for maybe 6 to 10 seconds. While you're in this tall posture, you're activating the deep stabilizing muscles of the front of the neck, longus colli and longus capitis. These are really deep muscles in the front of the neck. You're also activating the muscles in the back of the neck, the posterior of the neck. Hold it for 6 to 10 seconds and relax. What would be great was work up to where you could do this exercise, tall through the pelvis, chin gently comes to level, my chin comes down just a millimeter, shoulders relaxed. Maybe you hold this for 10 seconds and you build to where you could do 10 reps. If your neck's really sore, you may have to go at this very slowly at first. Barely tall and barely bring your chin down, maybe a half a millimeter, shoulders relaxed. But if you can do this comfortably, it's not giving you a headache, it's not making you extra dizzy, it's a fantastic exercise that you can do to start turning those core muscles back on. Sitting poorly with your pelvis kind of hunched back and your chin up, that's going to have an opposite effect. It's going to deactivate your muscles. Remember, if you want relief, The faster you can get your stabilizing muscles back on, the faster you're going to feel better. You can do this intermittently, 1 rep here, 1 rep there, if you're sitting at your desk, maybe at your office, or if you're sitting on the couch and you're watching TV. Maybe every 15 minutes that you're watching TV, slide to the edge of your chair or your couch, sit nice and tall, bring your chin to level, relax your shoulders, hold it for 10 seconds, and then back to watching TV again. So if you're doing that every 15 minutes, 3 or 4 times an hour, that's a lot of reps to get those stability muscles back on. Ultimately, what the spine wants you to do is to stand, walk, and move. If you feel really dizzy and you don't feel safe walking or standing, maybe having a loved one walk with you and hold your hand to make sure you're safe. Maybe walk in a hall next to a wall. But if you can do a tall posture and walk several times during the day, that's going to help you get your strength back as well. Now let's get into exercise number 3. When your neck is having a lot of pain, dizzy, etc., you might notice that your upper traps and your shoulders, they feel really clenched and really tight. We're going to teach you an exercise to relax that tension and get some of this pain out of your neck. Kind of looks like this. Like the first exercise, if you go tall through the lower back, not overly extending but not being flexed, find that in-between position, bring your chin to level. This time we're going to relax your upper traps, let your shoulders relax. And then what we're going to do, once you relax your shoulders, you're going to slightly bring your shoulder blades back, kind of back and down towards the bottom of your shoulder blade. I let it drop, gently squeeze my blades back onto my chest wall. This is a light effort, like 1 to 2% effort. I'm going to hold this for 6 to 10 seconds. And then relax. What I don't want to do is an aggressive squeeze like that. I want to let my upper traps and my shoulders relax, very slightly relocate my shoulder blades back onto my chest wall, hold it for 6 to 10 seconds, keep my chin level, very light effort. Make sure it doesn't make you feel dizzy or headachy or painful. Great exercise that's been clinically shown to decrease the tight muscles in your upper traps and this muscle on the upper shoulder blade called the levator scapulae. Give it a try, see how it makes you feel. A lot of times it can bring instant relief. Definitely worth giving it a go. For exercise number 4, I'm going to show you an exercise called the waiter's bow. It's a trunk leaning exercise that's great for strengthening the lower back, but also really good for activating the muscles in the back of the neck. The reason I like this for severe dizziness is if your neck's really in a bad way, you're super dizzy, you're maybe not going to be able to move your neck around a whole lot right to left or maybe up and down. Maybe any motion could really trigger the dizziness and make you feel worse. So this is a great exercise that strengthens the back of the neck, but you really don't have to move your neck around very much. Let's get into this and I'll show you how it works. All right, for this waiter's bow exercise, what we're going to do, I'm going to find myself in a nice neutral posture. Here I'm too far flexed. Here maybe I'm too far hyperextended. Now I'm in the middle. Now I'm going to move at the crease of my hips. I'm going to start to go forward 5, 10, maybe 15 degrees. My eyes are now looking down at the floor at maybe like a 45-degree angle. Hold that for 5 seconds, and then I slowly right myself. Now I'm looking straight again. It's important that I look down at an object on the floor or pick a spot on the floor. Otherwise, when I go to lean forward, if I'm looking straight, I'm going to cock my neck back into extension. That could easily trigger pain, discomfort, or dizziness. So you get your posture, you do a little trunk lean. Notice I'm not letting my back sag when I do it. You keep yourself kind of tall. 5-second hold. Build up to where you could do 10 reps. Make sure it's pain-free. Make sure it's not causing pain or dizziness. A great exercise to throw into your repertoire a couple times a day to get that strength in the back of the neck and stop some of this severe dizziness. Well, thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can receive more videos like this in the future. We're going to do a series. This was the basic exercises for severe dizziness. The next episode, we're going to do a little more advanced and we're going to progress for the next couple episodes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and we'll see you next time on Physio Tips Tomorrow.